We're live. Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt, episode 255. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. Today, we have another special guest. Stay tuned, and we will be right back after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutters, solar. TC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
Welcome to Behind the ToolBelt, where the stories are bold, the conversations are real, and the insights come to you live, raw, and uncut. Every week, host Cobb Backer sits down with game changers, trailblazers, and industry leaders who aren't afraid to tell it like it is. No filters, no scripts, just the truth. Please welcome your host of Behind the ToolBelt, Cobb Backer.
Wow, love that.
That was good.
That was good.
Did Vic do that whole thing?
Vicky Ticky Talk did it, man. He did a good job on that, too. It's good.
Yeah, very impressive, brother.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. We got something else that we're working on, too. I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. We're going to do a little podcast inside of a podcast called Brick by Brick. And it'll probably be a little closer to 15, 5-minute little clips of some experiences, knowledge, nuggets that I want to drop on there. Vic and I have actually, we started on this a couple of years ago where he just started recording me some stuff offline a little bit, just me rambling, talking about trying to fix the world's problems, the uncut, the unsugar-coated version of myself offline. Might be a few more F-bombs here and there. But super, super excited about launching that here soon. And we started out at my breakout at RoofCon was called Brick by Brick. So we're building this thing out brick by brick. And if anybody knows the story of where that analogy or that statement or term has come from, I would suggest looking into it. So anyhow,
were you thinking of calling it a different name at one point?
Yeah,
I feel like there was a different name.
Yeah. What was that? What did we? Oh man, I can't even remember what the hell.
I can't remember either, because I remember you and I talking about it a year or two ago.
Yeah. So we never really stopped doing it.
Raw and uncut or something like that.
Man, I don't remember what that was the name of that we were going to call
it's
it.
Okay.
Somebody else had something similar to it, and we were like, we don't want to. And then I've realized that somebody came out with Behind the Brand podcast. I shouldn't have gave them any.
I'm starting a new one. I'm starting a new one called, it's called Behind the Map.
Behind the Map Project. Behind the Project.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Behind the Project.
Yeah. Right on. No, I love it.
What's up, man?
Nothing. How are you? Steve Spence, Project Map It. Got your Celsius up there. I like how you like the rub. The Celsius will sponsor anything and anyone.
It's actually not true. Are you trying to like make me feel less?
It's not a true flex. It's not a true flex.
It is. They told me that they usually don't sponsor anybody unless it's 1,000 or more people.
Oh, that's so that,
So you,
okay.
did you know
I,
that?
I digress. No.
Did you want to apologize now or later in
You
person
know
when
what?
we see?
So when you bring this conversation up with your therapist later, I'll let them know that I apologized.
Like,
I thought this was therapy. I thought this was therapy.
this therapy. I
Here.
thought my microphone muted, and I thought Vic was messing with me. Was that Vic that muted me?
Ah, never. We would never mute somebody. This isn't the be authentic or get the F out show.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. But no,
Well,
thank you.
thanks for having me on. I've never been
Yeah.
on before, so I'm really excited about this.
No, you haven't. Not remotely, I don't think. I think you were, have you been remotely?
Yeah, once or twice out of the 10 times I've been on the show. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think this is special. No better timing. I mean, if maybe
Yeah.
a week or two prior to the Swing for Recovery, maybe might have been a good time. But I think while we're still kind of juiced up from the accomplishment that, that your vision here has, pulled through, and man, like great stuff. So for those of you watching that don't understand where Swing for Recovery came from, Stephen Spence, the founder of Swing for Recovery, reached out few weeks ago, I guess probably 3 months ago.
3 months ago.
About 3 months ago, asked if we would be interested in hosting, being a part of his second annual for Swing for Recovery, man, and for to help support roofers in recovery. And of course, knowing where that vision came from, I mean, how could we not support Stephen? And I'll let you talk a little bit about where that inspiration came from and all that good stuff. But man, it's and I'll let you talk about what you accomplished, right? And then we kind of helped with that a little bit. And but looking forward, we're already planning next year's out.
Yeah.
So just already know that we're in at whatever capacity you plan on having, and so we can do it. It might be 2 local golf courses. I've heard the tournaments being so big where they actually have to have 2 golf courses. I do know of a course up here. There used to be what was called Briarwood West and East. Now I think they developed half of West, but they still actually have 5 holes over there. So they might actually be able to like figure out 18 plus 5 holes for, 44 to 88 teams or something like that within that mix, or maybe not 88, but maybe like 60 teams or something like that. That might be
That'd be
able to squeeze.
awesome.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
Or whatever. However, I'm not trying to influence you in any way, and we got some time, and maybe we won't wait so late. Maybe in the next 3-6 months we'll pull something together.
Yeah, and maybe instead of doing it in November, we do it in September because we have more time to plan it. Yeah, I agree.
Exactly.
No,
so less than a year away. We'll let everyone know what the hell's going on.
Yeah. No, and
touch on where the vision came from. Go back to the beginning here a little bit, like the vision and what you wanted to accomplish, and maybe it didn't go so well the first time, but then just like any success story, there's always a little failure in a minute, in the beginning a little bit, and then bam, here we are today. So
there it is. So the vision, and first of all, I did not do any of this. It was all of us. You know me well enough to know that I don't ever put my name in anything. Total team effort from your company and all the awesome event planners in your neck of the woods on your company side, and my team did a great job as well. Had one of my guys, Eric Harper, shout out to him. He drove all over Towson where we had our charity golf tournament for a day and got some pretty cool sponsorships. And Pat, Eric, and I ran the tournament with Dan Moyer, who is, the guy that really helped. You and I both have never put on a golf tour, and I tried last year, and we'll talk about that in a second. I had 4 foursomes. That's it. So Dan, I heavily relied on Dan. You relied on him less, a little guidance, but you have a big team. I'm small potatoes. And so we relied heavily on Dan. So big shout out to Dan. Dan Moyer and I met 20 some years ago. Well, gosh, probably 25 years ago. He was my brother's good friend, and he's a marketing guy, and he helped me start my first ever club lacrosse business here in Maryland. So I've been friends with Dan for a long time, and I do know that Dan puts on golf tournaments. That's kind of like his bread and butter. So relied heavily on him, and we had a great turnout on Monday of this past week, and we had a even better turnout, or a great turnout, at your charity golf tournament, which was November 4th, the week prior. So where did it start? It started on this podcast. So I guess you know the story, but I'll share it. I think it was last year, April or May of 2023. I was on your podcast, and it was right around the time that is it National Roofers in Recovery Day? Is that right? Yeah. And you mentioned, I was at your studio. We were standing up in the old studio that you had, and you said, yeah, I mean, it's National Roofers in Recovery Day. And literally in that instant, I thought to myself, this is the cause I've been looking for. So just a little bit of a story. Can I digress a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, totally.
So just the complete story is a good one, I think. But, for those that know Ty and those that know me, know that Ty and I are very close. We're like brothers. Vic and I, the whole TC Backer team, and myself, we're family. Everybody should know that. And if you don't, you now know. But I know that Ty has been a recovering addict for 14 years. I know that Vic and a lot of the people at TC Backer are in recovery, which I love. I've been in this circuit for 6 years now in this industry. And when I started going to trade shows during the trade show season, I just remember I hung out with two types of people, and I partied hard and I didn't party hard. There are times where I would come down to work out in the morning at like 5 a.m. before the trade show started, and there'd still be people in the lobby just hammered, with empty fifths of bottles of liquor all over, just acting like buffoons, to be totally honest with you. And I'll say that. I don't care if anybody wants to call me out on that. It didn't make sense to me. And then at some point in time, when did we actually meet? I mean, I know the first time I personally met you and Vic being the first person I ever met at TC Backer, was 4 years ago now. SRC. It's been 3 or 4 years. It's been a minute.
Yeah. I think we may have known of each other, but I think where we really connected was SRC Denton.
That's it.
Where we got snowed in with April Hall. So, and
And I just remember like hanging out with you guys and going like, man, what, like, this is the crowd I want to hang out with. And I'm not in recovery. I do drink, not heavily. I've done stupid shit in my life because of drinking and things like that. So I've grown up. I'm 50 now. So I've grown up a little bit. So I'm not like this rock star at all. But I just remember, man, this is the crowd I want to hang out with. And this is what it's who I gravitated to. So then fast forward to our podcast last year, April. And I'd always seen on Facebook, everybody like your turkey salute and everything like that. I always see people backing and supporting some sort of charity. So when you mentioned that, I'd like been thinking for 2 years, what charity do I want to support here at Project Map? What do I want to get behind, or what do we want to get behind as a company? And it just it all happened when you said that in an instant. I think I even told you I will donate $250 for something or whatever. And I donated money for whatever it was, Roofers in Recovery. So I tried putting on a charity golf tournament, literally, like it was April. And I think I tried to put a tournament on like in May, 4 weeks to like get some foursomes. And I think you and I have both learned that that's not, you can't put on a charity golf tournament, kids. If anybody's listening here, you can't put on a charity golf tournament and plan it in 4 weeks. It's just not happening. So I had 4 foursomes. We got like some donations from my customer base. So we still raised about $2,000. But my brother at that time, he was about a year into recovery. My brother struggles with alcohol addiction, and he's the love of my life. I love the guy. He's my brother. And so just it all sort of happened where it was like, this is what I want to do. And this year I reached out to you and Jimmy Hammond. Shout out to Jimmy. He's from Destination Motivation out in Indiana. Jimmy, I think he took on a little too much. He fell into my trap from the year before. I think it was like August that we started talking about, or maybe end of July. And me and you were like, yeah, let's do it in October, November. And Jimmy's like, I'll do it in September. And it was like a month or 6 weeks to plan. And he just didn't get enough. but Jimmy really inspired me. I don't know. Did he inspire you to like, yeah,
Yeah, he was fully all in.
he was all in. And that's Jimmy. Like for those that don't know Jimmy, I mean, Jimmy's always all in. Like his heart is always in the right place and he was passionate about it. And his emails through our network of trying to plan these 3 golf tournaments, because we were trying to do all 3, Indiana, York, Pennsylvania, where Ty, you are, and obviously me in Baltimore. And Jimmy just couldn't pull it out. I mean, it was hard. So but he still traveled. He drove his car to yours in York. He drove to mine this week, and just great guy. So he really inspired me. And yeah, the rest is history, man. You guys did an amazing job at York. Swag bags were awesome. I have somewhere here. They all handed out. Everybody got, a Roofers in Recovery sweatshirt, with the sweet logo on the back of TC Backer. That's one of my favorite t-shirts or sweatshirts. I wear that in the winter all the time, or I will. I'm a sweatshirt kind of guy. But you guys, I mean, your numbers were what, Ty? I mean, you ended up raising over 20 or very close to it or something like that. Or
Yeah,
is it more?
I thought it was right around 19, but with some little extra, people walking around just handing cash, it came out to roughly $20,600.
It's amazing. So, and my goal, just so you know, my goal was like, hey, if I can get $3,000, $5,000, I'll be happy. And I'm telling you, like we had, huge props to all of our partners, Engage, Roofer, Presto Media, Send Digital, you obviously, Certainteed was a huge one. SRS was a huge one. Like Certainteed literally, I mean, they in total, it was over $10,000 of sponsorship that Certainteed did. Wow. Financial, the swag bags, everybody got like Certainteed towels and all the golf fun stuff. But all of my partners, they all pulled through. And our tournament was, I think, a little different in that all of our partners, they would like, Roofer, they sponsored a foursome of a company in Maryland. So we had like 13 sets of foursomes that were contracting companies, which I love. Like that was really cool to me because, they're my people that I'm trying to, that I work with all the time. So I think we were at, it's between 13,500 and 15,000. We haven't finished the money because it just came in. But you told me, Ty, it's about $15,000 for somebody to go to rehab. Is that correct?
Yeah. That was our goal. Our goal was to raise 15,000 to send somebody. And then when the final numbers came in, I was like, holy crap. And then yesterday, or was Monday, when you were stating how much that you were going to bring in, I was like, man, we might be able to pull off sending at least 2 people and then a little extra, someone to rehab. So that's huge, man. I don't know if anyone else has done that for the Roofers in Recovery cause or not, but that's definitely something to be proud of, Stephen, to be able to send somebody within the industry. That's what the whole point is, just for clarity purposes. You have to be, so even if Stephen, since you work with contractors, like if you would ever have an issue or someone on your team would have an issue, not necessarily a roofer up on the roof, but somebody within our industry is struggling with drug addiction, alcoholism, whatever the case might be, and when you were talking, Steve, 2 things came to mind. Was one, your passion for recovery. Okay. Actually 3 things. Your passion for recovery, because of it has affected you, right? Not necessarily you, but your family. And a lot of people don't like to talk about it. And I brought that up a little bit, and I did a little speech. I didn't do the whole thing. It was a long day, but I was going to do this big speech at the end of it, but I could just tell people were kind of waiting for the 50-50. So I didn't want to take up, when I get on a ramble, it could have been a 30-minute freaking rabbit hole that I was going to have to try to dig out of. But so I chose to just kind of keep it short and sweet, like thanked everybody, like literally, because what was crazy about our golf tournament, like you had mentioned, ours was a little bit different, but when you scanned our room, every person sitting in that room had, like, I talk about your network is your net worth. Okay. So whether they knew it or not, those people, I don't know how many it was. I don't know how many people it was. 112, 15, 20 people sitting in that room, whether they know it or not, was affected by the foursome sitting next to them, whether they know it or not. Somehow, some way, those people had food on their table every week because of the foursome sitting next to them. Every single person. That's what was super cool about it. And I kind of touched on that a little bit We didn't have a lot of contractors, but we had, our insurance companies. We did have Roofle. We did have Certainty. We had ABC. We had SRS. We had USLBM Universal. We had Okna Windows. We had a lot of support from our distribution and manufacturing, which was really cool, and didn't hesitate. Right.
Yeah.
One, because, roofers in recovery, and I got a little weepy. I guess it pulled on my heartstrings, because if you really think about it, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but they must think highly of us. If in a matter of a couple weeks, it might have been 2 months, 3 months max, where it was like, really, you know what I mean, to pull something off like this, and they agreed to it, and to give them the amount of money to us, to trust us enough to do this. So that was one thing. I could keep talking about that, but it was amazing. But the other thing that I was thinking about was, so there was, so you gravitated towards us at SRC. Okay. And the point of recovery isn't for us to avoid alcohol necessarily. Right. Yes, I can't drink alcohol, but if I'm avoiding it, right, not going to restaurants, not going to, roofing conferences where they may serve alcohol, well, then I'm allowing alcohol to still control my life.
For you.
Okay. So I definitely didn't get sober to become a nun and not do anything or have a good time. But there was two things there. Obviously, you noticed we were having a blast there without alcohol. You had mentioned that you drink alcohol. Well, for me being in recovery allows me to hang out with people like you who may have an occasional drink, right? So I can be normal, right? Yeah. I choose not to drink so I can mingle and be an earthling with everybody else and play in God's sandbox, right? Because when I start drinking, I'm not in the sandbox with everybody. I'm on a different, I'm on a different planet, bro. Like I'm just Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? But the important thing is we wouldn't have this podcast. We wouldn't be able to travel. We wouldn't even have TC Backer wouldn't even be here if I chose to drink today. I know that.
Right.
A lot of people don't like to talk about that. And quite frankly, I'm not promoting any of the support groups. I'm not a spokesperson for any of the support groups. I'm not going to mention their names because I don't want someone, because we don't, no press, radio, or films, right? It's anonymity. But I also feel like we have a platform to let other people know that, like, if I can do this, like, you can too. Trust me. Like, you're not alone in this. So I think a lot of people are afraid, like, ooh, man, that's anonymous. Yeah, it is. It is. I'm not promoting that. I'm not a spokesperson. I have failed. And this is the thing I need people to understand too, is that the programs that I've been involved with have never and will not fail. Who fails it? What fails it is me. I have failed the program many times. I have relapsed. I'm what's called a retread. I struggled with this thing at a very young age. I've been in and out. I was my first rehab. I was 12 years old. Couldn't, I wasn't that guy that came in and was like, I lost my wife, my dog, the house, and the white picket. Oh no, I could never accumulate any of those things. I was just at a very young age, started out. I didn't like really necessarily the taste of alcohol, but I liked the effect that it gave to me. Something happened when I drank, when I consumed alcohol, something happened to me, and I wouldn't know what was going to happen. Could I control it? Yes, but it was a constant struggle and a constant battle to try to control it. And little did I know it actually had control over me. I wouldn't go certain places. I wouldn't be around certain people if they didn't drink the way that I drank, and if they didn't party the way that I partied. I wanted nothing to do with you. So right there, that limited me on every level. Success, it limited me, the people that I would let into my circle. You know what I mean? It did bad things for me. I couldn't do it like a normal person could. But I'm grateful that I don't drink, because if I would have continued to keep drinking, I'd have never met you in Denton. I know that. I know that for a fact. So there is help out there if you're in the industry. I think the website is something like www.roofersandrecovery.com.
.org.
.org. Yes. .org. You're right. Absolutely. .org. We'll put that link in the comments here. So if anyone, and if anybody wants to pull an instant message me off the side, like if you're struggling with, any kind of addiction, And listen, mental health, like people don't like to talk about mental health, right? And seeking outside help, speaking with, I fully support seeking outside help, speaking to other individuals, especially as a man. Find that person, whether you're paying for it or not. I think we all need a sounding board of reality. I think we all need a sounding board to just get it off. I think we all should journal more and get those crazy thoughts out of our head sometimes, and then reread it back to ourselves and realize how crazy it is. But also have that person, and for me, it's Vic and sometimes, a couple other people, but I do know I have that circle of people that I know, they know me. They already know something's off. They already know I'm off. And I think mental health is huge, and we need to be more aware of it and speak more openly about it.
I have issues, man. I've been seeing a therapist for 3 years now, 2 years now, and I'm a much better person because of exactly the things you say. Now my therapist probably loves me because our insurance covers it. Now I've gotten a hold of myself a little bit better. Obviously, still work to be done, but I'll get on there for even just 10 minutes on a 50-minute session, talk through some things and be like, "Hey, I'm good. Thanks, doc." So I completely support everything you just said. I will say, between the two of us, raising over $35,000 is pretty kick ass. I think that's amazing. Like you said, in your thing, that supports two people right there to go to rehab. I know Roofers in Recovery just opened up a rehab center in Colorado, which is pretty awesome too. So congrats to the team from Roofers in Recovery. Here's a story that you don't know, and I'd like to share, and it's about Dan Moyer. And Dan already told me I could talk about things, but Dan Moyer's the guy that helped Ty and I put this on, and will continue. Dan has been in recovery for 18 months. And you know where those 18 months started? It started with my first tournament where I only had 4 foursomes. So I bought a bunch of shirts, Roofers or Swing for Recovery shirts, to hand out to the tournament. My brother, Dan, is the one that got the shirts made for me. My brother drove to Dan's house to pick up those shirts to bring them to the golf tournament of 16 people that were in my first tournament. And Dan remembers, and just vividly. So the cool thing about Monday's event was Dan and I sat down, and there will be lots of clips probably on social coming up, but we sat down for about a 11 minute or 14-minute conversation at the fire pit right there at Eagle's Nest. And he told us his story. And part of that story was him sharing, like, look, man, I was struggling in life. Like my personal, my professional was not going well. And it was because of the drinking. And then your brother, who I hadn't seen in a while, came to pick up the shirts from me, and it got us to talk. And my brother had been in recovery for 10 months at that point or something. And he said he just seemed intrigued, and he had a conversation with my brother, and he's like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I need this too. And he's been in recovery ever since. And it happened because of the Swing for Recovery tournament, which I think is it started. It wasn't because of, but it started that conversation with my brother. So I really loved your story. It kind of made me remember, the thing that Dan and I talked about. But that was probably my favorite part of our 2 tournaments, just sitting down with Dan and listening to him and share his story. Because look, not in recovery, I haven't been to rehab, but I learn from the best, right? I learned from you. You and Vic drove up from frickin' whatever, South Carolina that one time. And I mean, we talked a lot about stuff like that. And so just being me, educating myself has made me a much tamer drinker. I will say that. I can get a little crazy too when I drink. And just as I get older, it's like, do I really need to go get drunk right now? No. So yeah, I mean, my lifestyle is tamer because of it. So anyway, I just appreciate it.
Now that's a beautiful story, because that's what we try to do. We try to plant seeds, and that's exactly what your brother did. It's attraction rather than promotion, right?
Yeah.
If you want what I got, you'll do what I do. And the have the seed planted, and we never know who we're going to impact. Like as far as this podcast goes, or the reach that has, I have no clue half the time. I have no idea until like I've run into somebody shared one of our episodes that I didn't know listened to us, right? And it's like, hey, this is great, check it out. You know what I mean? So there may be someone listening today, there could be someone listening on a replay, or I have no idea, we have no idea what the impact's going to be. I just know that I'm the example today, right? And I'm going to try to be the best example I can be of a sober person, right? And I'm trying to be very careful of what program I'm involved with, because I don't want to ever be, or people shunning me for, trying to be the poster child of something. But I just, I hit it for a long time. I'm not who I want to be, but I'm definitely not who I used to be. And every day, I try to do the best I possibly can on a day-to-day basis. Did I make some mistakes yesterday? Of course I did. And especially one in particular, and I had to sit with that last night, nothing drinking related, but more so, it's a mental toughness. It's, today I work on other things. Thank God I don't have to worry about the drink anymore. I get to work on my mental, physical, spiritual. Where am I today? And my mental toughness, and encouraging and inspiring people. And part of that inspiration for my story is the path of recovery. Right. But I wouldn't know what I know today without that spiritual journey that I chose to go on several years ago, right? Which had planted the seed in other areas of my life that needed work, that shined a light on that drinking was actually my solution. It wasn't actually my problem.
Right.
I used it as my solution for everything. If it rained, I drank. If it sunny out, I mean, if there was an issue with something, if I needed to celebrate, it became my solution for everything. I didn't know how to function really without it. I needed it. And, where that obsession had warped my mind over the years, I don't know. Like, I don't honestly know if I was born an alcoholic. I believe I had alcoholic tendencies and behaviors at a very young age. And I know how it made me feel. It made me feel part of. I never really felt like I fit in. There were some skeletons going on at home. It helped me drown some of those. And, I just didn't know quite where I fit in, but I knew when I drank, it made me become like a chameleon. Didn't matter what group or crowd of people that I was around. It would make me feel like I fit in, or I would show out like I could drink more, or I can drink just as much, or whatever crazy stuff that went through my head when I drank, but I just know it made me feel better about me for whatever reason. I had low self-esteem, which again, when I put the drink down, all of these things start to come to light, right? Like, okay, so I suffer from situational depression. I suffer from anxiety. I suffer from neurosis. I'm fear-filled. I'm fear-driven. All these things that I used alcohol to cover up. You know what I mean? And then when you take away the sedation, you're stuck with this raw, untreated, I'm going to call it alcoholism, and the ism part is where all those other things come in. That ism is the neurosis, the fear, the low self-esteem, all these other things that were untapped and untreated, right? That I used as alcohol for my solution to cover up, mask all these feelings and fears.
How long? So you're kind of hitting on something I was going to say. So when my brother got into recovery, it wasn't too long, maybe a few months or a couple months later, that we went to an annual vacation with my father and my stepmother. And we bring our children, and Dave and his wife go. And it was only like 2 months of him being in recovery. And so like you're kind of hitting on some things, and I'm curious if you want to hit on it even more, but you used alcohol as a solution to whatever, right? And my brother probably did the same. I don't want to speak for him, but I know that when he decided to stop drinking, he did that totally on his own. He didn't need rehab or anything, but totally stopped drinking. He did not know how to handle himself as a sober person in given situations. We literally were playing games, right? We played card games, board games, we puzzle and everything. It's just a chill vacation for 2 or 3 days. And there was 2 episodes where he just went off the deep end on 2 different people. And at one point I had to stand in front of my brother. I was like, dude, you need to go outside and walk and collect your head before you come back in. And he was like, I will. He was like ready to fight me. And I'm like, no, dude, you need to go. And he did, but it was interesting. And he's over 2 years now in recovery. He's handling himself much better, still trying to figure his shit out like we all are. But yeah, there has to be a time period of adjustment to like solving all your worldly problems through alcohol or whatever addiction, and then all of a sudden you're not doing that. Now you got to figure out how to do it as a sober person.
Mhm.
Did you
Yeah.
struggle with that?
Yeah. Well, like, what do I like now?
Yeah.
Like camping and stuff like that. It was like I wouldn't leave unless I had a bag of weed. Like we would
Yeah.
scour the earth the entire week if it was dry, right? Like things would go dry sometimes and I couldn't find any weed. Like we would
Yeah.
postpone the camping trip or fishing. Like I had to question myself, like, will I enjoy fishing today
Yeah.
as a sober person? So I had to reacclimate myself to a couple things, and there's a couple of things that I won't do. I've heard of people like, I can't eat crabs anymore because crab and beers. I've heard people say, I was like, really? Like food is like the shit now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
food is my, food is like, we travel now for food. Like instead of
Yeah.
traveling for like beer events or whatever,
Yeah.
like things that, like when I go to a concert or a ball game, it's like, it's not about the beer or the beverages. It's about like what's famous here, right? Is it barbecue? Is it pulled pork? Is it their hot dogs? Is it their
That's awesome.
hamburgers? Yeah. So to try to find myself, like, who am I? Like, or what do I want to be when I grow up? Because they say that at the moment you started to drink is where your mind mentally stopped growing. So when I got sober, I was a 15-year-old child, and I was sensitive to everything. I was fear driven, right? And the only way that I knew how to handle it was anger, right? Like, because if I didn't know how else to handle it, and I'm not a depressed person, by any means. I don't need medication for that. Thank God. But depression is, anger is depression turned inward, right? And that was something I needed to, figure out, and through therapy and counseling and other things like that, self-help groups, I was starting to listen, right? And realize that, because the one thing I thought was like, how am I ever going to have fun? Like life is going to suck. Like this is going to be so boring. I'm never going to be able to experience the world because there's going to be alcohol everywhere I turn. There's going to be billboards. There's going to be all these things and all these things, and I kept thinking, I'll never be able to drink again. Never, and that scared the shit out of me. An old timer once told me, he's like, just for today.
Yeah.
Just for today. And when you can stay in the moment. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. Like there's a lot of things that happen to me throughout the course of the day, and I'll have one foot in yesterday and one foot in tomorrow and piss all over today. Right. Just like I did when I drank. Right. Like, instead of like worrying about what's going to happen. Yes, I got to prepare myself and prep for a meeting, prep for the week, prep for whatever. Yes, I have to prepare myself, but I also have to learn to stay in the moment. I also have to learn how to take it 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, 1 year at a time. Right. Because I like to jump and fast forward and ruin everything today that may or may not happen next week. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's helped me kind of take a deep breath, and take a step back and think about something that has stuck with me for a long time. It's like, no matter what I'm going through, no matter what, I have to say to myself, what's wrong with right here and right now?
Right now. Yeah, I interviewed a lot of people yesterday because we're going to try to make a nice promo video that you can use and I can use for future events. And I always said, if you would like to share what your advice is and how many years sober you've been, that'd be awesome. And almost all of them, their advice was 1 day at a time. Like, just focus on right now, like every single one of them. And I do appreciate your comment, not even just on the recovery side of things, because it hit home with me when you were talking about being able to talk about mental health. Yeah. I mean, I struggled. I never knew I struggled with it. And again, I'm finding myself and I'm in a much better place in my own head now as a 48 to 50-year-old over the last 2 years. I've been going to therapy pretty regularly. Is that, look, man, like the guy I was even 2.5 years ago before I started going to therapy and figuring my shit out, I'm a much better person right now. And it's because I didn't realize for 48 years I suffered horrendously of having low self-esteem. That's why I was always the class clown in high school. That's why I was like, the loud mouth, the biggest partier in college, right? Like I needed the attention, and I'm not going to go into why I had to feel that intention. But I mean, it was obviously, growing up as a child and like, separate, I had my parents divorced before I even could talk and stuff. So anyway, point being able to talk about your mental health and doing something about it has at least really helped reshape who I am. I find myself like I'm still an extrovert. I can still travel to New York like I did yesterday and meet new people. And by the time I leave wherever it is, a restaurant or whatever, I'm like best friends with everybody in there. I still have that extrovert in me, but there's a big part of me that likes to be alone and just chill, and not worry about having to be the cool guy. So anyway, I just appreciated you sharing that. Everybody has room to grow, and going to a counselor, some sort of psychologist or therapist, it's very, very
Yeah.
helpful. At least
You know,
it's been for
and
me.
it's a journey. It's not a
Yeah.
destination. There's no graduation date. And with these tools that I picked up over the years, anyone can apply them
Yeah.
in their life. And I highly
Correct.
suggest that they do. Thank goodness I have a place that's free that I get to go to, put $1 in a basket, and I get all the therapy that I want,
Yeah.
right? And a group of like-minded people to be
Yeah.
around where I can be very vulnerable. But one of the other things I struggled with too early on, especially early on, and I still struggle with it at times, is being a doormat, right? Because you go from one extreme to the next. Like, I'm not going to take anybody's shit. And then it's kind of like you start to get sober and your head starts to clear up, and you struggle with this. Like, if they really knew who I was, this syndrome of like, oh man,
Yeah.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I'm walking on eggshells because if they really knew who I was,
Yeah.
right? So you got to like learn how to stand up for yourself and not be taken advantage of, because I can go from one extreme to the next, right? Like I can be the biggest prick to letting everybody walk over me. So, and I think most people deal with that, right?
Yeah.
But you can't become too cold-hearted, and you can't be, you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with being nice,
Right.
right? You know what I mean? And I don't know if anybody will say, well, besides Tim Brown, he's like, he's a nice guy. It's like, I'm nice, but you're going to know when you offend me. You're going to know when you kind of cross that line, but that's what you're going to know, where I'm at, where I stand. And that's the thing that was probably the hardest thing for me to work on over the years is, don't be mean with what you say, just mean what you say.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And,
That's smart.
and that was kind of like, I was touching on that a little bit. Like I said something to somebody yesterday, and it was kind of mean, but I wasn't mean. I wasn't like screaming when I said it. And it was kind of a coaching moment, could I have said it a little differently? Probably. So sometimes I have to review my day, right?
Yeah.
Like how did I react today? How did I respond? Did I react or did I respond? But that's what this is, this personal journey I've been on for a long time of like self-examination, self-mastery, right? And my perception of things have changed. My paradigm has changed immensely of like my why, right, has changed. I've grown a lot closer. I never knew relationships, especially with my significant other, Jana, my wife. I never knew it would get better with time because of the things that I've heard. Other relationships failed, whatever. Like I didn't know how to actually be a friend. If you were my friend, it's because you had something to offer me.
Yeah.
Right? Like I didn't know, like it's just okay to be someone's friend and care about them and want to help them without looking for something in return. But then again, make sure you don't cross that line where like then they start to expect that, because I've had that situation too where it's kind of like I give, and then they start to expect it. But honestly, that's not their fault. That's my fault. I did that to them.
Well,
You know what I mean? Like, so I got to be careful because I'm a caring, big hearted, I'll bring 15 cats home from Greenville, South Carolina kind of guy. Funny inside joke about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Tam knows all about it. I called her up. I was like, listen, I built this box and I'm bringing 15 cats home that's hanging out around this hotel that we have down here. I just need you to figure it out when I get back. And she's like, okay.
Did you
they're
bring
gonna,
15 cats home?
they're gonna be neutered, they're gonna need rabies shots, they're gonna need all this stuff. I didn't. It was a joke.
Okay.
But she believed me because that's the kind of shit that I do. Right.
Yeah.
So she's telling Lauren, like they're figuring out like this game plan. Like Ty's bringing home like between 15 and 25 cats. And like, he doesn't want to take them to the SPCA. Like we got to find homes for them. But I mean, that's the kind of shit that, but and I got people around me that would support that crazy, stupid stuff too, but we get to control this. Like we're writing the story today. It's someone else isn't right. A judge isn't writing it for me. Parole officer isn't writing this for me. God, the sense of freedom that we have today. And don't get caught up in your day-to-day shit and realize how good we have it. All of us. We have it so good. If your life sucks, it's because I choose to have it suck, and I get in that zone for about 5 minutes, where it's like, everything kind of sucks, but it's like, I know to snap right out of it because there's only the 5%. There's always 5% of something that's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't get fixated on the 5%. Look at the other 95%. Like, am I healthy? Yep. Is your food in the refrigerator? Yep. Is my kids healthy? Like all these other things, right? And if we want to talk about things, but let's talk about like the people that are in our lives today that for whatever reason they were put in our lives. And I'm not going to go down the God path here, but like, however they were brought into our lives, right? Let's talk about the circle of people, the healthy minded people, the people that want to be around me today. Like, being able to go golfing with Rocket golfed. He took off school. He's in Votech. Played golf in a roofers and recovery, swing for recovery golf outing. My son, my 16-year-old son, who just turned 16 Friday, right? Like, loves me.
Yeah.
He loves me. He's my best friend. Like, dude, I am the wealthiest guy in the world because of that kid, because of Mackenzie, because of Jacob, who I have a relationship with today. I didn't for a long time, but I have been given that gift of a second chance, right? With my kids, with my family, with my dad, my mom, before she died, got to experience me sober. And I was mentally stable enough, right? Because there was a long time I wasn't, especially in early recovery. But at 4 years sober, she moved in with us. We took care of her. Right up until the day she died in my house. She saw me sober. My kids, besides Jacob, actually, I don't even know if Jacob has ever seen me drunk. None of my kids.
Yeah.
Got to experience that side of me. Like, what a blessing. So why am I so fixated on because homeowner gave me a bad check, or I don't know. I can't even think of anything bad right now, but I'm just saying, like, all of those other things, that's what really matters.
Yeah.
My friend, my family loves me. They trust me. You trust me. Vic trusts me. All these people in this building trust me. I don't know why. I don't want to question it. I just know I need to suit up, show up every single day. I need to be consistent, and I need to, this is the biggest thing, I need to stay resilient.
Yeah.
I need to learn how to bounce back.
Those are all amazing words of advice, brother. And it's the reason what gravitates me towards you, as a good friend. So you're a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate you sharing your story. That's awesome. It's the reason why I want to do a charity golf tournament like that.
No doubt. And you're not even in recovery. So big shout out to you, bro. Because not most people, other than us that are in recovery, would want to host an event for recovering people. I mean, I don't know anybody else that is in recovery that would want to host an event or a charitable fundraiser for us knuckleheads. So thank you.
I feel really guilty even saying this out loud. When you guys talk about eating food. So I went out, I took you all out, right? Like I was going to a trade show and I said, Ty, I'm taking the family out. It's on me. So we went to some restaurant that you guys researched up because you like your food. And I had budgeted $1,000 for that meal. Cause I'm like, look, I think there were like 8 or 9 or 10 of us there. It's like, it's going to be $1,000, $1,500. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I mean, they're worth it. That bill, you know what that bill was? $350 or something like that. It was nothing because you guys don't buy alcohol. And I was like, man, they're having so much fun. Not one person bought any alcohol, and the bill was so cheap. I literally doubled the tip for the waiter. I was like, I gave the waiter a $300 tip, and they were like, what? I'm like, well, I budgeted money for this group, man. So, I mean, I feel horrible saying that, but even that, I was like, God, like you can have this much fun and not actually have to drink. That's pretty cool concept, so
good, clean fun. And the thing is that most people probably thought we were drinking, like other
absolutely
or patrons 100%. Of the restaurant probably thought we were drinking. You know what? Why that is? We have nothing to fear today.
Yeah.
No guilty conscience, nothing to fear. And we just live life to its fullest. We are not a glum lot.
Yeah.
Life is too short to become a nun, right? Like I didn't get sober to not enjoy life to its fullest extent. and
Yeah.
the unfair advantage that we have is the threshold of pain that us in recovery who have gone through the things and saw the things that a lot of us have seen. That's kind of the unfair advantage that we have. Like our resiliency and our threshold for pain is much greater than most people. And thank God that I am an alcoholic, and thank God that I'm a neurotic, fear-driven, healthy fear-driven person, or else we wouldn't be here. Like I have no fear. I can look any man or woman in the eye on any street corner across America and know that I don't owe them a damn thing.
Yeah.
And it is just a magnificent lightning, like light feeling that I feel today, of just being,
Well, I love it.
picking up a drink one day at a time.
I love it.
Yeah.
If any of your listeners are watching this and they want to be a part of this Swing for Recovery movement and golf tournament, just let Ty know and reach out to me. I mean, we want to, our goal next year, we did 2 successful ones this year, made over probably close to $35,000. It's only going to probably get bigger next year now that we sort of know what we're doing. But I'd love to have 6 next year. So if anybody out there wants to bring the people, project map it, we'll plan it for you. We'll plan it. You have to help get some sponsors, but the people is the biggif problem. Like it's not a problem, but it's just hard. Like, right. You're trying to get 100 people. Not everybody plays golf. So if any of the listeners wants to join forces with us, let us know and we'll talk and get you on the calendar for next year. We'd love to have 6 successful golf tournaments.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Hit us up. Either Steven, Vic, myself, Tam, Amanda. Big. I'm going to give Amanda and Tam.
Dude, they are awesome.
Yeah. Amanda, just crushed it. Like she saw it as a project that she could, grab a hold of, and she did, and has kind of created a new position for herself, here at
awesome.
TC Becker, and we saw something that came out of her during this, which is cool, to watch her kind of blossom in that arena of, organizing committee, events, type of position there. So big shout out to her. And of course, Tam was riding shotgun with her. And I'm going to say that because Tam even admitted she was under the weather, there towards the push, the end there. But without either one of them, we'd have never been able to do this, because I'm pulled in a million different directions. But big shout out to the entire TC Backer team too, because there was a lot of people, once they realized we were hosting a golf tournament, there was golfers that work for us that I didn't even know play golf. Right. Yeah. So that there was quite a few of our foursomes right there. And then there was a lot of volunteers kind of waiting, because I was like, look, we're going to make teams. If we have to make teams, right. Yeah. Like, and people were volunteering to play golf that never played golf. Brian Good was ready. He's left-handed. He didn't care. He was going to try to play right-handed golf if he had to. Fortunately, we had too many. Yeah, too many teams showed up. The golf course had to get 4 more golf carts from another location. So I mean, we couldn't have did it without the community. First and foremost, shout out to the community. Eric Brewer, the guys over at Integrity First Home Buyers, Insurance Services United, the Chris Patton Group. I mean, our local insurance company, investors, realtors, were the first people I probably hit up. And so this was a learning experience for me too. And we'll get off here real quick, but I don't like to ask people for stuff, right? For help, and that's kind of one of those, if they really knew who I was kind of thing still that I struggle with sometimes. And so when I texted Eric over at Integrity First Home Buyers, and we've done business with this guy almost 16 years now, but I've never really asked him for like a favor or anything. I mean, he's done so much for our family. Like, how could I? Yeah. He's why we are who we are. He's been a mentor from a distance. His business blew up. We blew up. Just our network is our net worth. And then everybody that he does business with, guess what? We do business with too. So I hit him up and like, hey man, we're hosting a golf tournament, and I hate to ask anybody for anything. He's like, dude, we were in. He's like, don't ever hesitate to ask me for anything. And I was like, okay. Next thing I know, like he's got 2 foursomes. That's awesome. Coming and donated. He had signed up for one of the sponsorship things like that second. Like I sent him the link, boom, bam, bam. His secretary hit me up and she's like, hey, the morning of, like, hey, we have another foursome. Is there? I was like, bring them. I'll deal with it. Just get them there. And she brought some yard signs out and everything that he did. I think at every hole we put a yard sign out there, just show our appreciation. And everybody else, Ben Weaver, everybody, I need to send out a mass email is what I got to do.
Yeah, I'm working on that myself. Shout out for me, Sales Transformation Group was great. They jumped right on board. Ryan Groth and the team. Sean Murphy was the spearheading guy on that. But I mean, I got to meet. We just partnered with him, but I got to meet a couple of the guys. Lucas being one of them. That dude's he's a young go-getter, man. It was kind of cool. I even told Sales Transformation Group, I'm like, this kid Lucas is the real deal. And they're like, yeah, man. Once he learns the trade really well, he's going to be a stud. So it was fun. It was fun. Networking is always fun, man. I love just driving around the cart and talking to people all day. It was awesome.
It's fun. So. It's fun to tee up an atmosphere of quality people that get to network who probably wouldn't ever network before. Connect. Correct. Right. So that was super cool. So thank you, Stephen, for the bright idea. I guess I'll let you go because I know you're busy as hell and we're just about at our hour mark.
Yeah.
So I love you. Keep doing what you're doing there. And
keep grinding.
Yeah. So those of you listening, if you caught us late, please check us out on the replay. Like, love, subscribe, share this out to anybody that you think may benefit from it. Please do. And don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. So love you guys. Till next week. We'll see you then.
Join us next week for another episode of Behind the Tool Belt. Thanks to our sponsors, TC Backer Construction, Lead Scout, Hook Roofing Marketing, and Roofle. And thank you for watching. Like, follow, and hit the subscribe button on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, as well as Spotify and Apple Podcasts.